Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair, coming to you live if you're watching us live, coming to you on YouTube if you're watching later, from Fairhope, Alabama, of all places. Where in the world is Fairhope, Alabama? Well, we can just about throw a rock and hit the Gulf of Mexico, and we're located in between the Panhandle of Florida and the states of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. Glad to have you on the show with us today. As you recall, we kind of have a theme with That VidBlaster Guy, and that is that one guy with one PC can do a pretty darn good broadcast. Now, my goal, of course, is one guy, one PC, one awesome broadcast, and I'm not quite there yet, but each week we get a little bit better, and that's the way you make improvements. You know, most of the improvements that you make after the very beginning are just incremental improvements, but it's the difference between a 90% and a 92%, then you get to 93% perfection, and obviously you probably never ever get there to 100%, but that's the goal. We kind of divide our shows up among three basic topics. We talk about sports broadcasting, we talk about church broadcasting, and we talk about talk show broadcasting. And I'm really excited about our guest today because he kind of brings an element of a little bit of everything into the show. And I kind of stumbled on R.J. Murdock about a year ago through the VidBlaster Forum. And if you've never visited the VidBlaster Forum, it's real simple. It's forum.vidblaster.com. And that's where you can download the latest beta version of VidBlaster. Anybody can be a beta tester and download the beta version. You can join in the discussions about what the newest feature should be for VidBlaster. If you find a bug, that's the place to post a bug. Or you can just chat about things that have to do not necessarily only with VidBlaster, but have to do with streaming. If you're looking for a new streaming host or something like that, there are plenty of guys there that have got tons of experience and are welcome to share. And so the forum has been a great place to just sort of hang out and learn for me, and then teach what I've learned to other folks, and that's forum.vidblaster.com. Another part of the VidBlaster kind of family of websites that's really important is the wiki, and that's wiki.vidblaster.com, and there are dozens of great articles, practical how-tos of how to work with VidBlaster, how to use chroma key, how to use a mixer, how to import a video and audio from Skype like we're going to be doing today with our guests. So if you're wondering about some of those kinds of things, you can go to wiki.vidblaster.com, and all the tutorials that we do here on That VidBlaster Guy are also uploaded to our YouTube channel, That VidBlaster Guy, of course, where you can go through and watch the tutorials. You can watch past shows. All of that is on our YouTube channel. If you want to find out what we're doing on a regular basis, you can check us out on Twitter, That VidBlaster Guy, or I think maybe it's just at VidBlaster Guy. Yeah, that's it, at VidBlaster Guy on Twitter. So let's bring in our guest today. I'm really excited to have R.J. Murdock, but we're going to bring him in with a little bit of a fanfare this time. Martin Kay, my buddy over in the United Kingdom with Zen Video, has sent me this really cool animated transition that is going to be the way that we bring RJ in. So let me get this thing queued up right here if I can do it. You know, like anything else in VidBlaster, sometimes it takes a little bit of practice to get it right the first time. And so, well, let's see what we've got. There we go. RJ, welcome to the show.
Well, how you doing, Tom?
Well, I'm just glad to be here. Whoops, sorry about that flash, folks. That was a white frame at the end of the transition that I forgot to edit out.
No, you get to it. You'll get to it.
Now, RJ, Emerald Coast TV, this month, October, is your 1-year anniversary.
Yep.
And, oh, there we are. Well, there it is, Emerald Coast TV. And I think you've got a URL that's even easier than that. It's ecitv.com.
Yeah, actually, that's what I started out with because I was trying to, you know, I'm also a computer guy, a little bit of web programmer, And, you know, those people who have those 4-letter domain names, you know how it's so rare to get something like that. And even it's getting harder to find the 5-letter domain names so that you don't have these long URLs. And when I was first getting started with this, I was thinking, well, Emerald Coast Interactive TV or Internet TV. Yeah, Emerald Coast Internet TV, ECI TV. Checked it on GoDaddy. The domain was available. I was like, awesome. You know, and it makes things really kind of short when you're having to type it out. However, it doesn't. One of the other things you have to consider when it comes to domain names and your viewers or your potential visitors to the site is how easy they can remember it. And you know, for the longest time, you're with EC what TV? ECI? Is it I or is it an I? You know, you have to, when you think about domain names, you need to really factor in things that, you know, may sound similar. You know, how are people going to, how clear is it for people to know that it's exactly like this and it's not a, you know, if, like I said, TV for you, is that TV the number 4 or is that the letter 4? You have to factor all those things when it comes to the domain name. And EmeraldCoastTV.com had not been available since I first tried to get it back in 2003 or 2004. And basically, I had it on back order. I paid $20 and it was on back order for until all these years. And the strangest thing is the guy who owns it actually is in the same town. He's a neurosurgeon who lives, you know, who works off of Racetrack Road, which is probably about less than 10 miles from here. And I think he just had it in auto renewal. You know, he must have gotten it way back because I think I remember reading an article that his wife had been sort of involved in television or something like that, and maybe he was thinking about doing something with it. But he was a neurosurgeon, so, you know, every time I'd email, I never got any reply back. I finally just stopped on in. I had my business card. It said Emerald Coast Internet TV. Wrote on the back of it saying, "Are you still using EmeraldCoastTV.com?" And lo and behold, suddenly it didn't renew, and it became available, and I was finally able to grab it. So, and now it's a name that it's easy to remember and to work with. So I'm very excited about that.
Cool. Great way to start. Well, RJ, let's start out. How in the world did you discover, I mean, back before you were in the domain stuff, where in the world did internet broadcasting, when did it first get on your radar?
It was never my intention at all to begin with. It actually just happened to just kind of fell into place. Let me go back a little bit, maybe about the 2002 time frame. Basically, I'm a retired military. I was Air Force, came as a no striper. That means no rank. Got my 8-year degree. Took 8 years to get my 4-year degree, but all paid through the military, working part-time and getting a skill. In this case, I was an electronic technician, working with test equipment. And then I finally got my degree, and I was able to get my officer candidacy. So I was able to become an officer, and spent my second half of my 20-year military as an officer, and basically in communications and computers. My degree actually happens to be my bachelor's was in system sciences, which was computer sciences back in the early 90s. Actually, about 1990 was my graduation, back when we were working in assembly code or Ada. Boy, that was I'm so glad I learned how to use Ada because we're using it so much now. But it also gave me an introduction to the fact that, you know, I hate coding, but I love using technology, which kind of got me into my master's, which I ended up getting a master's in instructional technologies. And that was back when video nonlinear editing was just coming out. So we're talking about 93 time frame, back when you were so excited because you can get a postage stamp video to play on a computer, you know, and you can actually do some editing there. So, you know, I've been in computers since they first came out. You know, built my own. Also, when the first camcorder came out back in after 85, I picked up an 8mm camcorder, which I still have, but it's probably more of a museum piece. Definitely wouldn't use it. If you would see my wall over here, it's racks full of tapes. I have such a large tape library. What I also do is I do a lot of theater. And, you know, that was one thing about to be a good camera person, you have to know what your audience is going to enjoy seeing. And in my case, I started out, not only just recording for home and archiving of life itself, but I always enjoyed recording stage productions, and which is always a challenge because of the contrast in the lighting. Sometimes you're dealing with white balance, and then before the cameras really got really good, and I say the cameras really started getting really good late '90s when you got your 3-chip CCDs finally came out with the DV quality. Then you weren't dealing with glowing images anymore. But as an actor, I always wish I had somebody doing a good video recording of me up on stage. So when I record a stage production, I'm always making sure I try to make sure everybody looks good. So I'm really working the camera all the time. It's not just sitting there facing it and keeping it wide. Wide cam is boring to watch. It's boring TV. You got to, as a friend of mine once says, if it ain't, it's just.
Oh, we're getting a little skip in RJ's audio here. Folks, that's the nice thing about emerging technologies. You never know when something strange is going to happen. Let's see if we can get him back here. Hold on just a second. Yep. Ain't new technology wonderful? Skype says there's a problem with this call. Well, you think? Let's see if we're getting him back. There he is.
Well, sort of here.
You're back with us. We lost you for a second.
Can you see me?
We can see you. We can hear you.
I have no idea where I got dropped off, and it was weird that Skype closed up on me in the middle of that, but VidBlaster didn't. So, all right.
I think Skype was saying it's time to move on to the next subject.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I can get on and on. What was the last thing you remember I dropped off? And I promise you I won't pick up from there. I'll just...
Something about your website? No, I'm teasing. It wasn't that far back.
All right. Bottom line is...
You were talking about a wide shot and how boring a wide shot was, and then you sort of faded away.
Yeah, I enjoy... we like to see people's faces. I like to see them sweat. I like to see them cry. I like to see their action. So I'm always very much into close-ups as much as possible. And I started getting the multicam because I ended up doing a show at a college that had only 3 people in it, and those 3 were there was one scene, the half of the second half, where one was on one side of the stage and one was on the other, and it was like, I got to have 2 cameras to cover this, and I ended up doing, but then editing back then was still non-linear. It wasn't, it really wasn't desktop, and I never got around to being able to edit together. So I ended up getting a Videonics switcher, a little MX Pro. Well, actually, it was an MX1 at the time, and then it went up to an MX Pro. So now I'm doing 3 camera shoots, and I started building up a 3 camera shoot system. The idea is wide cam, and then a group cam, and then your close up, and you switch between the 2. When you've got somebody entering from that you weren't expecting, you go to your wide, then you can tighten up on your group, and then you can go between group and close up, switch close up, and get tighter, stuff like that. So I'm really a production guy, and thing is, all of my equipment, about a year ago, a year plus, I started to realize that all of my equipment is 10 years old. I'm getting noise issues. I'm getting, the cameras are getting dropouts because they're DV tapes, because I'm always run tape all the time, because something always happens in the mixer. You may end up, losing the master, and you're going to have to go back and re-edit in post. And I was having issues with being able to re-edit. I was getting noise and things. I was like, okay, I need new cameras, and I need a new switcher. And I started trying to design my ideal switcher. And what biggest problem I have is having a monitor and a preview, but I can never see all the cameras at the same time. And I wanted to try to create something where I could see all the images, which got me to looking for if there's any software solutions for video editing, and then kind of came across a few. I think Take 4 was one. I think vMix might have been another one. Actually, and I came across VidBlaster, and what I liked about VidBlaster was that it was very modular, very adjustable, and that's so I was going to try to use it for being able to switch. Unfortunately, it just, to me, it wasn't the super smooth video that I was looking for, so I was not quite there yet. And there's lots of reasons why that was the case. It's really close to it now, only because I'm trying to get it completely away from from interlaced cameras. And if I go progressive, it really helps quite a bit because VidBlaster's not having to work as much. But it's still a work in progress, and still trying to deal with that. But then the idea, of chatting with all you guys, and especially when. Well, wait a minute. I should take a pause for a second and say, Tom, was there anything there that you wanted to ask me? I think I just went 4 minutes straight without pausing, and I'm just guessing that.
Folks, RJ is the perfect guest because he anticipates what the question is and he just runs right into it. And so, no, you're doing great.
Great. And it's a whole history, for the most part. And there are probably aspects to it. People are like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean with this and that? And come on to the forum. You can ask me then for sure. If you wanted to try to chat something real quick, I've got the chat window going on. But I'm also, if you can't figure it out yet, I'm such a multitasker. And bottom line is, I'm a tech solution guy. I'm a real good technical director. If you can give me what you want to be able to produce, I'll figure out how to get the audio to it, how we can run the cables to the cameras, how the intercom system's going to work, and everything else. And I get hired on to do that quite a bit by another video guy that I work with. When it comes to anything that's multi-camera, he's got me on the set all the time because he's got to deal with client management, and he knows he could just give me the direction and let me go, and I'll work on it. So I find that the challenge. That's what's exciting about doing some events and stuff like that is this challenge of being able to capture all of it the best that we can do, for the most part. So I've kind of lost track here a little bit. So Tom, I'm going to let you direct me on where would you like me to.
No, you're doing great. So you bumped into VidBlaster about the same time that Emerald Coast TV came into existence.
Yeah, and there was actually two different reasons for that. There was an article, and I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name, Vince or something like that. I could probably pull it off of my files back here. That I read back in October of 2010, but this guy he set up a website, and he was toying with how can you make money with a website through just advertising, stuff like that. And he twiddled around, I think back in 2006. By the time this article came out, he had created a free dating website called plentyoffish.com. And currently it was bringing in $14 million a year in revenue, and was getting a billion hits a month from and most of the advertisers were all other premium dating sites that were on there. But the fact that he only had just himself, and now he had to hire 4 other assistants more or less to open the checks and they do the banking and accounting. I was like, that's where I want to go. So I kind of started playing around with what could I do. Well, I'm more of a video guy. That's just the way I am. I actually had when I got out of the Air Force back in 2002, I was trying to make the next step, and I definitely I wanted to get into television production. And there was a gentleman, a friend of mine, another videographer, who had started a local tourist visitor's guide on the local least access channel here. Basically, for those people who are not familiar with least access, the cable station is supposed to require you time on a specific least access channel for local producers to be able to produce local content. And he had created this little 30-minute television program that basically featured all of the attractions and advertisers for hospitality, tourist-related type things here locally. And I ended up, he decided he'd build it up after a couple of years. He wanted to go back to his RV, traveling around the country in Route 66, and I bought that off of him. And then I started taking that and bringing it up a couple of notches, added hosts to it, made it more of a TV format instead of just a one guy talking about all these different things. And also I ended up co-hosting it with another local female speaker who's her name is Susan Young. And it was called touristv.com. You could go to the site, but I actually had it down because I'm playing around with it. And what I wanted to do was try to bring that back again. So I started playing around with touristv.com, but it's such a tourist thing. I wanted something that was a little bit more broader, a little bit more local. I wanted to approach local people and give them an advertising venue other than, especially from video and video news and events, other than YouTube, which will send, they got to compete with everyone else. So the idea of Ember Coast Internet TV came about then, and then so all the work I was doing towards that Tourist TV, I just kind of used all the technology that I kind of learned and how to use and translated it into EmberCoastTV.com, and that's the story of how it kind of got started. As far as the website's concerned, now the video aspect of it, is a whole new whole area, and that's how I kind of got started with doing the chamber First Friday coffees. So I don't know if that's a good enough transition for you, but that's I know great. You that and so here, you keep talking about your goal is one guy doing one awesome broadcast. And basically you said, you've been focusing on church, sports, and talk shows, but you're totally missing out on conference AV support, which is one of the other things I really liked about VidBlaster, is the fact that I can take a video out and decide what images I want to put up on the screen, but it's not going to affect what I'm recording for the live switching. So I can get audience shots, and I'm not worried about people seeing themselves on the screen. That to me was a really very powerful aspect of VidBlaster, which I don't see a lot of people really talking about much on the forum as far as from a revenue aspect. And that's why I keep going. It'd be great to be able to add some transitions, if I can, between what's going out to the video out, like a little sub video mixer separate from the main mixer. So now we're talking about two possible mixers, but that's the reason why, because right now it's like if I try to do a switching, I have to go ahead and do the drop down select on the video out, and it's just it's not smooth. But I'm not getting paid for these First Friday coffees. It's allowed me to basically hone my system, and also give me the visibility to be able to let the business community in large know that I have this capability. That give me a call, and if I don't know the answer, I know somebody who can. I probably could pull up one of the videos from that coffee.
Oh yeah.
I know. I've shown a picture before of my setup for that, on the forum, and I guess I could try to bring up that picture in the. I don't have to log in and everything like that, so you'll have to excuse me for not looking at the camera. One of the things I've been thinking about for a hosted talk show was actually doing a teleprompter type of thing where the screen is right in front of you and you can actually type, but you're looking through right at the camera as you're doing all this, so you never lose the eye contact. When I get to that, I'll show it off, but and that may actually be sooner than later, because that's one of the other areas I'm starting to really kind of get into here eventually here pretty soon. Where was that? Well, you know what? I should have preset that. I was just going to show you that image, and I don't know where it's at right now. All of my
that's what.
Okay, so so the First Friday coffees. So yeah, it was. I started out back when I was telling you what got me into VidBlaster was I decided I'm going to focus on my switching system first, and my my production switcher, and then hopefully I'll upgrade the cameras. And another reason for upgrading the cameras is because Sam's Club, which is a big local warehouse of supplies for the most part, like a Walmart, or I'm not sure what's over in Europe and other parts of the country, but just think of your big supermarkets. But this one is more for business items, and you have to be a member to get the special bulk discounts. They were no longer providing mini DV tapes, and all my cameras are all mini DV tapes. So now I've had to do pre-order tapes, and it was starting to get kind of expensive. Half of my cameras were getting dropouts because the heads. I was like, I needed to go to digital as soon as I can, and finally made that move. Was able to go ahead and work out a lease own type of thing, and got two Sony NX70s for the price of like one good professional camera, and it's got abilities all the way up to 1080p, and it records on an internal hard drive as well as a SD card. And I know there are other cameras that are sub 1,000, sub 500 that will probably work as well, but it's just probably the world I come in through or from is that I like to have that broadcast quality, because I do things that also go onto the network besides local TV as well. So I just rambled into a corner here, and I was trying to remember the point I was getting across, and I think we were talking about First Friday Coffees. So stop me, Tom.
Oh, RJ, you're great. You're great. Now, where we want to go is where VidBlaster really showed up in your radar and became part of your workflow.
Well, I would say it's because I was trying to design the ideal switcher. And in my case, there's the Black Magic thing that's out there right now,
right?
As well, which is, I still may kind of dabble with that. I haven't had it. But what I miss the most is the fact that I use a touchscreen monitor, and I don't use a what do you call the panel?
Oh, a control panel. Control surface.
Well, if you added a module to it, it would be the grayed out on this one because switcher, video switcher. I've worked with a video switcher for so long, and one of the problems I always had with a video switcher was hitting the wrong key and switching to the wrong camera at the wrong time, which was like, oh crap, boom, and you're switching back, and it's already too late. It's been recorded now. The only way you're going to fix that is go in post, which means you're going to have to synchronize camera tapes and non-linear edit system. And now the idea of being able to do something affordable now is added hours and hours of, I usually tell people for multi-camera shoots, it's 5 to 1 or more when it comes to how much time you're going to spend fixing something if you're going to try to edit it in post and redo it again. It's a lot easier than it used to be, especially with the Adobe Premiere multicam, and I think Final Cut the same way. But still, as we get into the HD world, it still becomes intense resourceive, and then it's still kind of slow sometimes for the computer to catch up. So my screen, and I'm not sure if I can, I probably could create another window here and give you a full screen. The idea is that I wanted to be able to tap on the camera that I wanted, and that shows up in my screen. So I'm camera 1, camera 2, go back to 1. Let's bring up the score, go back to camera 1, and I'm seeing exactly what I'm tapping, and I'm not miskeying. And my goal usually for multicam productions, for live to tape, as we used to call it, if I can get 85% good, it's good enough for at least the little money that you're going to get for it. My goal here was to try to increase that by getting rid of the miscues, going to the wrong camera. Now, of course, if you have another camera operator on intercom, but they're not paying attention, and you switch to them and they switch, that's out of your hands. But at least I was taking care of what was in my hands. So that was my, VidBlaster. What I really liked about it was the fact that you could move the camera around, the modules around, and you can change the display size. So for the ones that you really are active the most, you can go 25 or 50%, depending on what your setting is. Or if you weren't using it as much, you just shrink it down to default and put it off to the corner. To me, that was huge. It was huge because that way I can just arrange what I need exactly for what I need, and then be able to switch to it, which I thought was great. And so that's really why I'm a very big fan of VidBlaster, and I just it can only get better as the computers get more powerful. But on the other side, as a video professional who makes a living like this, that also makes it easier for other people to compete against you if they know what they're doing. Yep. Now, on the reverse side of that is, well, anybody can have a hammer, but how many people can build a house?
Right.
Really, your experience really comes into play, especially when it comes to audio, definitely, when it comes to lighting, when it comes to queuing multiple cams. Most people can handle one cam, maybe two, but you start going more than that, you got to have intercom system, you know, and all that stuff I have already. So VidBlaster was kind of just switching out my existing switcher was something that was very flexible, allow me to be able to bring in videos like I used to do when I was working with a TriCaster in the past, and lots of flexibility, and then the whole streaming aspect of it, and now the ability to be able to bring in Skype people and all that. Just, you know, I just see all these possibilities, and my goal is to try to work all of them as much as possible for what brings in the most revenue. And for me, it's focusing video services for businesses, because they're the ones who can actually kind of pay. Any other event stuff is usually for some sort of charity or a special group, and you're kind of doing it for love for the most part. But love doesn't pay the bill.
All right, RJ, you've really hit a hot button for me here, and I want to focus you in on this one, because I want to spend maybe the rest of our time together talking about this. Assuming that you're willing to share, and I understand if you're not, but my guess is that your competition within 50 or 100 miles is nowhere close to you where you are in terms of your advancement and your thought process and your workflow and your ability to grasp this entire concept. And we won't let them watch anyway. But tell us what you mean by businesses. Why this appeals to business professionals. Unpack that one a little bit for us.
Well, if you're talking, I'm actually talking more about video services, probably more so than specifically VidBlaster.
Okay.
However, one of the other things
tie it to VidBlaster as much as you can, because of course this is the VidBlaster
that's
show.
where I'm going. I understand the nature of this program.
Yes.
So, and I'll expect that check later on for all the good.
The check is in the mail already.
Yeah,
no, it's not hard to put a bunch of zeros with a zero out in front.
Yeah, and I haven't given you an address yet either. So,
actually, you know, it's funny little side note. You live very close, because I Googled your address one time, and of course it came up Google Maps, and you were right on one of those back bays. And I think maybe 10 houses from where you live is where my wife's best friend used to live. It's just amazing in all the world that it would be that close. So I've driven on your street dozens, if not maybe 100 times.
Yeah, and I was upset when you did that show from Navarre, and I didn't know you were over there, because I would have came on over and showed you my packed little system, because you got to see my system too.
Well,
which,
we should have at least had lunch.
I could take the hand cam here if you don't mind it being a little shaky, and I could probably show you a little bit. You guys want to see it?
Folks, obviously RJ has got an adult onset of attention deficit disorder. But other than that...
Do I need to get back on topic again? Okay, we can save that for another one. But
I can tell already I got to have you back. This is just too good. But unpack the business part just a sense, because I think, for folks that are getting into VidBlaster, not just as a hobby, but maybe a professional hobby, that is where they're making more money than they're losing, or as a second career, a post-retirement career, or as those that are making the biggest jump to having this be the sole source of their income, you may have some nuggets that will, if not be the perfect solution for them, at least get them thinking as to what would work in their specific geography. I mean, where you are in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, it's heavily government-oriented, because you've got, two, an Air Force base and an Army airport there.
2 Air Force bases, 1 Army thing, and then an hour from Tindo is another Air Force base. An hour in Pensacola is another Navy base. So we have a lot of military.
A lot of military.
Which, that goes to the other side of the streaming live event aspects, which we could cover. And I don't think we're going to have enough time to do all the different stuff. So let's talk about the business aspects of it.
Business, yes.
Video production perspective, first initially is the fact that businesses realize that they need to have some sort of video presence on the web. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up this little, if you did a search on ECI TV or EmbleCoastTV.com, and you do a search for just the letters SSI, probably all in caps, you'll probably find 1 or 2 draft videos of a local business that is a multi-million-dollar international business. They provide surge suppression equipment for big corporations, for big amusement parks, for military, and they came to me because they wanted to get away from the webcam with the on-camera audio type of updates that they were trying to do on this monthly newsletter. They wanted to produce something on a monthly basis, and they wanted to look something that matched the quality of the type of industry that they are. So if you looked, if you go to emercoastv.com and you just do a search on SSI, you'll probably find one or two. What I ended up doing as green screen videos with their salesmen, with case studies of proven results or other aspects that could prove that what they do was good. That kind of gave me a realization that businesses need to have a video pro other than their teenage kid that can come in and maybe update something for a commercial for TV or something they want to put on YouTube or demonstrate a product. Or where I really want to go to is where they can actually do a little web shows that are not locked into the TV 30-minute, 1-hour programs. You know, let them do a quick little demonstration or an interview with our customer or something like that. So I'm trying. I'm setting up a studio in a converted 2-car garage that I got rid of the garage door and I put some double French doors in, and I've got a nice 20 by 20 space that I could put some. I got some backdrops I roll down, or I can switch out a blue or green screen, and use lighting that I work with, and I want to try to set it up so that it's in my home location for the most part, so I'm not having to haul all my gear to other people's locations. But, you know, I can have them come over and do a talk show, very much similar to who was your guest last week that was talking about, you know, being able to provide a talk show capability to a one person, then a second, and then the third one, they finally got some money going on. That's exactly the kind of the concept I'm going on. I've got a few professionals that can take advantage of that. I was hoping to have that ready for today, but I've got, unfortunately, you have to work all these other jobs to keep the bills paid. I'm sorry, I looked over the chat room and I got completely distracted.
Well,
so,
no, one of the reasons why is that Jan, and Jan, I know I'm going to mispronounce your name, Jan Akala, who is in Sweden, works for a large corporation, and part of what he does is develop videos for his company. And just posted one in the chat room, the VidBlaster chat room, last night, that he and a partner were doing a green screen presentation, and really nice work there, and it's exactly what you're talking about. So I know he's at the edge of his seat, you know, looking for that great tip that you're about to lay out there.
So you got the ability for them to maybe come to a location where they're away from their environment and they can actually focus. I have a teleprompter capability, so I've learned when you watch any of those SSI videos on the site here. All those guys were everything they're saying has been scripted, and we've got it running on a teleprompter. So that way, it's nice and concise. I'm not filming it with VidBlaster in this particular case. I'm actually doing the post edit because I'm actually in the virtual set. There is another. If you did a search, I want to say on TAXDAL, that's actually another virtual set for a live sweepstakes drawing that we did a couple of days before it actually aired in Texas for one time only. But it gives you an idea of what I was able to shoot in my garage for the most part. Well, it's not a garage anymore. It's converted 20 by 20 studio with double French doors overlooking the beautiful bay. So I have no problems with clients coming to my house because they can always check out the water view. And so the professional look aspect is one aspect. Training is the other, and that's one of the other things that I've always wanted to do. And one of the part of the system that I was designing, because I also had done several conferences, and we've been having this discussion here recently with this remote screen streaming, is being able to bring in a presenter's PowerPoint or something like that. And to me, I've been able to convert any VGA output from a projector or laptop into an HDMI, which I've been able to bring into my system here through my Blackmagic Intensity Pro, and then use that as a video source. So now I can switch back and forth, either picture-in-picture, full screen, any presenter's PowerPoint, whether they're using a Mac or whether they're using a PC, a laptop, because, we all talk about, we're used to some of the TriCaster world where we had the iVGA, but, the problem I always had with the iVGA was resolution. Resolution was always kind of crappy and kind of depended upon the bandwidth you had on the network and the computer speed and everything else. Now I don't deal with that issue because it all looks nice and crisp because I'm getting it at the computer resolution. So, so training is another element that I'd like to be able to get into, or guest speakers, or hey, we got a travel company, they've got somebody from a cruise line coming in to talk. Let's go ahead and set up. We can set something up that we can record it. The real challenge is live stream because it's such a work to be able to get everything set up for a live stream, and it's almost for naught if nobody's attending it live. How do you get the word out? It's really got to be an event that like lots of people can't wait for. Like, in other words, if I'm going to do, there's a church service and they want to do it live, well, you may get a few of the church people, maybe some of their family, but this is one of the reasons why I kind of started thinking back when Tom was doing he wanted inputs for what to work on, and you're like, replay, instant replay. Sports is where it's going to go out. And I started really thinking about that. And the reason why, because there are lots of alumni fans.
One word, it's audience.
Audience is audience.
Audience.
And what really made me realize that was I was doing a recital. And I just had my laptop. I have, when I was dealing with just my DV cams and my MX Pro mixer, and I would feed the output to a DV deck that I have, a little Sony clamshell. That was my master recording. I could take a FireWire out, and I was putting it in my laptop, and I was also, just to make sure I didn't get any dropouts in the tape, I was making a DV copy as well. Well, what I ended up doing was, for one recital, was saying, setting it up so that I could just stream it out. I can't remember whether I used VidBlaster for the streaming or whether I used just Flash Media, live media encoder. But either way, we made it. I was able to successfully make the connection, so I let the director of the dance recital know, and she made an announcement 10 minutes before the actual recital started. And I was amazed that for the 2 hours that we were streaming, I had over 263 people on the site right then and there live. I want to say half of them were in the audience because they were seeing the close-ups seeing on stage, because they're seeing the wide view, and I've got the close-up of their kids. Now, of course, there's a lot of kids. I close-up 1001, 1002, 1001, 1002, 1000. You're switching, but at least they're able to see their kids, and that's the goal when you're doing any of these recital-type videos is, and having a wife who's a dancer/choreographer. She gets on my case that she wants to see the entire stage, all the choreography, and I'm being the actor. I want to see the close-up, or it's my moment to shine. But the other people, we're fighting all the time when it comes to video all the time. So, we're theatrical people for the most part. So we do a lot of stage stuff. We do a lot of dance stuff and stuff like that. So I'm doing that stuff all the time. But that recital kind of showed me like, wow, I think I even made $2 off of Google ads from AdSense on my site from that day. I was like, I've never made $2. I've made a penny or two, or maybe less than $1 over a whole month period because I don't have enough content on my site yet.
Right.
So, when you start talking about football is, or sports, that's where, you get the most audience from. It was like, well, I started kind of thinking about that, and I said, well, maybe I'll have to try to work it out. I didn't feel like I was quite ready yet to market it out, but I tried doing it, getting started at the very beginning. I think I ended up talking to you, Tom, to learn, like, okay, get in touch with the booster clubs, the
right.
touchdown clubs,
right?
And then but then also you're dealing with coaches who don't want their games streamed because they don't want their competition to know.
Right.
So you're dealing with that stigma.
Right.
I ended up my first try, which I did with a local high school here, Fort Walton Beach High School. The first week I was filming from the roof. So here it is. I'm hauling my 60 pounds of equipment case and monitor up through a hatch in the top of their press box to be able to set up a 2-camera shoot for up there for the test run, which I thought worked out really well. And then next week, I was kind of got the impression I can work in the media booth, and that we kind of had permissions. We had a hurricane come in, nobody can coordinate well. The day came up, and I was like, please guys, let me know whether I can or not. One thing led to another. They're like, okay, I get set up there, and then they're like, oh, well, this media booth needs to be open for everyone else. You have to leave. You can go back on the roof. This is like 20 minutes before we go live.
Oh, wow.
So, and when you've got all this equipment, and I'm like, but I'm set up. No, oh, you're arguing with me? You're out of here. We're not doing it anymore. This discussion is over. It's like, okay. At that point, I learned I've really got to be respectful that I'm in somebody else's house. So I ended up going through another high school, which was I actually knew the principal in some ways, and the media department. One of the girls who runs that actually had contacted me saying it would be. I hear you doing this football stuff, this multi-camera stuff. My kids really kind of want to get into that. And I just kind of opened the door. It was like, okay, well, let's do it because we've got this 60th anniversary. It's a big deal, and I used the emotional sell when I contacted the principal a week earlier. It says, just think of all those alumni who can't make it, all of those parents of majorettes and band members and football players that are overseas because we're such a military community here. They'll get a chance to see their son and daughter.
Perfect.
And I think that was it, because then they're like, okay, well, she forwarded my email over to the media person who we already knew each other as well, and then we kind of worked it out for the first try. And of course, not knowing what the location is going to be like, I had got a chance to try it beforehand. There was no internet connection at this place, so it was like, okay. Now, that recital I've mentioned to you before was at a conference center that had wireless internet, but it was so choking all the time. And I had just gotten my Droid, Motorola Droid Razr with the 4G LTE, and I had mobile hotspot and I was able to run for 2 hours during that recital. The recital went longer than that, but my phone did not. I realized that plugging just a USB to my laptop was not enough to power the amount of power that was going out to do a continuous live stream. Right. However, for this football game, for this 60th anniversary football game, I did a test run with a speed test on the phone a couple days beforehand in the middle of the day, somewhere around 3 o'clock or so. And I was really concerned because it was less than a megabit, per second type of up and down. It was like, wow. So, forget the 2-stream type thing and the free low res version and the pay-per-view high res version. Right. Let's just go for the goal here is eventually to make money. And in order to make money, you can't. The schools don't want to charge for, don't want to pay for it. You need to find another source of revenue, and that's going to have to be sponsors for the most part, And in this area, it's nobody's used to it yet. I mean, I think it's going to be norm. It's going to be like that commercial for the Kindle Fire, where the new norm. I think it's going to be the same thing when it comes to video streaming. But people are not used to the idea of the pay-per-view yet, and how you can actually be making more money for each of these games by having these virtual seats. So maybe it's just you don't want to scare them away with a high price. Make it sort of affordable, not necessarily $1, but maybe $2. And if you can work out a way where, hey, for every person we could split it, $1 for you, $1 for me. That $1 gets chopped up to take care of my bandwidth costs, but at least I'm getting a little bit something. But if you can get 1,000 people to come on board, you could end up getting a $500 night. And that's not too bad, especially if you've got all these helpers, in my case, these media students who kind of help me out. Right. So, that would be a great goal. So that would be $500 going to the school for a game. How many games are there per season? At least, home games at least, maybe five or 6. Yeah. That's $3,000 to go to the athletic or the media department. I think they'd go for that. That works good. Now it's just a matter of, but will people watch it? So to take this example, and I know we're probably going to run real close. If you had a demonstration, forget it. You have no time for it anymore now. But so we used that Choctaw 60th anniversary, and all we did was media blast through Facebook. All the Choctaw alumni website, the sports website, our Facebook page, the band Facebook page. Yeah, they were a little concerned because they were selling their own video as well. But I think they're kind of a little bit on board because they see how cool it is to have the multicam. And so just from a Facebook blast, starting the day prior to and that day, reminding everybody, all the alumni and all that, we actually had over 436, well, minus me, so 435 people tune in live to watch it live. Now I thought that was pretty good. When I looked at a couple of days later, I think on Wednesday, it was a Friday night, so that was 4 or 5 days later, on a snapshot with Google Analytics, over almost 2,600 page views to the website, over almost 1,600 unique viewers to the website, and on the average, on a daily basis, there was at least 76, between 70 and 80% new users who've never been to the site at all.
Right.
So we got a lot of people, so now that's numbers I can take to a sponsor. Hey, we've got this game coming up. Oh, championship game. Oh, we're going to go ahead. If I know I'm going to have that many people, I might even put a small little ad in the sports section. By the way, watch this show, this game live, and see how many more I get. Especially if I'm going to get a sponsor who's going to pay for it, I'd take a little bit of that money and put some in advertising and something else other than just Facebook, because not everybody checks their Facebook, but some people may get used to it. And if you make the site easy to work with, that's great. My next challenge is, and I'm still waiting for DeCast to kind of help me out here. I may have to go another route, but is just being able to take care of all the Apple phones, the Apple iPhone and iPads, all those mobile devices, and make streaming live to them seamless. Not quite there yet, but I'm hoping in the next year or so we can finally get there, and then this is just going to be the norm, I think.
RJ, let me give you a way to improve your audience. If you're shooting for a Friday night game, on Wednesday night, do a pregame show. And if you've got video of either or both schools, bring that in. If you can get some on-field interviews with the coach or the player, even after practice, show up at practice with a video cam and see if the coach will give you a 3-minute look forward at his opponent Friday night, and then feed that into your live show on Wednesday, where you're talking about Friday night show, and then of course make that Wednesday night show available after the fact too. You'd be amazed how that boosts the online audience, both live and after the fact.
It's interesting you mentioned the live show aspect of it, because one of the other interesting blocks that I came across was is announcers. We'd love to be able to use, wait a minute, these announcers that are on the radio are actually from the Touchdown Club. They're not even the DJs from the radio. They're just feeding it,
right.
Feeding the feed to the radio station.
Right.
So can we tap into that? Well, one of the problems I had at the Fort Walton High School one was like, well, the radio stations, they kind of gave us money, so we feel like they have exclusive rights, and we're worried that your stream could be encroaching upon their.
It's not going to encroach upon it. It's going to put them out of business.
Well, no.
They're going to be gone in 5 years. They will not be doing a sporting event, because all the sporting events will be live video, which is far more interesting than live audio, especially when you start seeing automobiles come equipped with internet, and all of a sudden radio goes away completely.
I don't think it's going away as much as that it's going to blend. And this is the approach I was just getting ready to mention, was the fact that I'm actually taking the approach of approaching the radio stations that are doing these broadcasts and saying, you're wanting to send people to your website to listen to it who are on the radio. And if they go to the website, then they have to click here for the live. They're going to this other easystream.com or iHeartRadio.com site. And now all you have is your little logo, and, if you have that, and your live audio, for the most part, in an audio player. None of your advertisers are actually, you can't really sell any banner ads, stuff like that. If you want to partner with Emerald Coast TV, we can combine the live broadcast, the audio broadcast, with the video feed, send them to the website. I don't have any problems maybe putting some banner ads for some of your. As a matter of fact, let's use your sales guys to help sell some ads for the video feed. So I think when it comes to newspapers,
that's a great idea.
The approach is a partnership to be able to, because it's a natural transgression for them to go to. You know, they're in the newspaper business because, you know, and radio business because it's more affordable than television. Well, not anymore. So they need to transition to, when they can, to do the live remotes, especially when it comes to the point where you can almost, you know, DJ shows up on location and, you know, you've got a feed on him, or he wants to go ahead and do an on-location interview. I mean, to me, that's a whole nother issue with parades. Imagine if you had the app set up so that you can have anybody with a phone that can come in and get a slot that you might be able to take a feed from their phone. So now you've got multiple camera capabilities. I mean, that's where I see VidBlaster and some sort of IP, you know, an app that you can, that would be designed that would allow you to go to be able to send your phone camera or your iPad or whatever video feed to a specific site that you have access to, and it becomes another one of your cameras.
Sure. And
the app would be designed to let you, you know, to give you a little tally light and let you know whether you're live or not live, or maybe a little text window to let you know, okay, stand by, going to camera.
Now, you know, you shouldn't be sharing all your secrets online here, because somebody's going to run with that one, and they're going to make $10 billion off of it, and you're not going to get any of that.
Well, you know, I'll make money on the production side of it. Because I don't have time to do, you know, I don't have the money for coding to pay for it and all this. I'm not there yet. Maybe, you know, maybe VidBlaster, you know, gets me there. That would be great. But, you know, it's like the same thing back in the 90s. I was saying, boy, video cameras could get in so close. Why can't we take a still picture with a video camera? You know, I was like, okay, I came up with the idea, but I can't do anything about it. I mean, now it's a norm. All video cameras could do still pictures. Well, I think it's going to be the same thing when it comes to the on-the-street reporters. I think that's where news is going to. And the reason there's a book I read back in '94. It was called Snow Crash. And I know what was I, 30 back then? I don't know. It kind of introduced the whole concept of the virtual reality world, you know, like the Second Life type of world where everybody kind of would goggle in. But one of the other things it introduced was a character called a gargoyle. And basically, this guy is wired for on-location audio and video. I mean, so he basically would find some place, would then try to cover as much as he can and get all the action, and he would sell his video feed. You know, so his video feed was available on any network or any news feed that wanted to use it, would then just pay for it, and they'd get the live feed right then and there while he's right there in the middle of the action. So, I mean, to me, I'm thinking that's where things are also kind of going as well, as far as the on-the-street reporter. Or there could be people that, you know, there are people that are dedicated YouTube producers. There could be people that are just dedicated event news gatherers, and all they're doing is they're wired for video stream, and you're paying for the stream. Oh, look, let's check out the live feed. What's going on? What's going on over there in Europe? We've got a live feed. So, all you folks here in downtown Fort Walton Beach, Redneck Riviera, want to see what's happening and over in Germany right now? Is there rioting? Well, I'm going to bring up that live feed right now.
Wow. Click.
You know, there's that possibility as well. So, I mean, I'm all over the map here. I know with this discussion.
That's right. Well, it's really interesting because Jim Moline, who's in the chat right now, says that he can bring his his iPhone into VidBlaster using something called iWebcam, and he's looking up the exact link to it right now. So it sounds like somebody's already invented your thing. It's just a matter of...
and now it comes down to people knowing or not knowing about it, you know?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
And that's where we come in. And that's where, you know, we provide these services to businesses or people. I mean, I do video transfers, you know. When you're in video production, especially when you're not in a major city and you don't have to, you know, you can't be a specific sound guy. You're a grip guy. You're a DP. Well, here in Florida, we're a jack of all trades. We're a producer one day. We're a camera guy. We're the audio guy next day. We're used to doing a lot of stuff. And when you've got all this video equipment, you know, it's like, okay, well, it's a natural to provide transfer services for, you know, I got a 8mm film transfer unit back here. I'll do VHS. I mean, VHS to DVD. it sounds like, you know, anybody should be able to do it, but not everybody can. They're like, sometimes it's a labor of love, especially when it comes to slides or photos.
Right.
So they'll pay to have that done. It's the same thing with these services. Now, okay, VidBlaster's available, anybody can use it, but you know, sometimes they don't have the time. They've got, if they're a business person, they're doing a conference, they need to worry about the speakers, they need to worry about the room, they need to worry about this. They don't have time to figure out the video guy. You know, maybe their IT guy can do it, but you know, he's not a video professional either. He's an IT guy. So, you know, whether they get what they want, you know, what they pay for, hopefully they don't mind paying a few extra dollars more to have somebody who knows what they're doing do it for them.
Right. All right. Let's see if I can get this on the screen. Jim has sent us a
I see the link there. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see if we can just pop this into a...
So, iCamera, the real deal.
There we go, right there. Now that is a link. Holy cow. I'll leave that up for the rest of the show so you can copy it down, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes that'll be in the archive section. RJ, we're definitely not out of material, but we are out of time.
Yeah, I know. We could talk about this stuff all the time.
Absolutely. So you got to promise to come back on the show in the near future and continue this conversation, because I know, you know, based on the questions that I was getting and some of the questions in the chat room, that you've hit a nerve with a lot of what you're talking about, especially when we talk about how to convert something that we have a passion for into something that's going to create some revenue for ourselves or for our company. I think that's really where the rubber hits the road, and you know, that's how the world goes around in a lot of places. Folks,
so yeah, definitely sports broadcasting. I think conferences and training, real world training, and I know Richard probably does a lot of this stuff already. And then, you know, the mom and pop soccer games, you know, the things you do because your family's involved with it. You're not making any money, but, you know, you provide the live stream, and that's kind of cool. But, you know, getting, you know, paid for all the, you know, the investments you have in the equipment and all that is kind of neat as well. So you got to explore the avenues of how you can do it. And unfortunately, I pretty much already planned it. This first year is I'm going to be just doing a lot of pro bonos to get the numbers and get also out. Like, yep. You know, I can give you another example if we had time, but I think you're probably needing to cut things short, or if we want to do an after show.
Yeah, why don't we shave that for the after show? I have promised some folks that I'd show them how to do this transition. So we're going to transition out of this interview. And folks, this has been RJ Murdock with Emerald Coast TV. Really appreciate him come on. It's oh, there he goes. It's ecitv.com is the easy way to do it. And we'll be right back with the rest of our show here in just a second. And that was RJ Murdock doing a great job of telling us a lot of what's going on. You know, my guess is that you want to really go back and listen to this show and take some notes in the archive, and we'll put it up in the archive a little later today, when he talks about, you know, some of his thinking behind this, because obviously he's got a specific geography that he's working in. He's got specific types of ways that his city, his community works, that your community may not work the same way, but some of the concepts that he's working with, I think, will work for you too. Now, let me show you how we did that really cool transition. Let's see, hold on a second. Here it is. Hi, this is Tom Sinclair, That VidBlaster Guy. I've got a really neat demonstration for you today. It is an animated transition between one camera shot and another camera shot. And hat tip to Martin Kay with Zen Video in the United Kingdom for preparing this for me. Thank you, Martin. I appreciate that a great deal. And let's take a look down here in VidBlaster at Player 10. You see Player 10 has a green screen. And this is the video that Martin has prepared, and let's play it so that we can see what it really looks like. And that's what it looks like. And the way we use it is really pretty cool. Let's again, we'll come back down to Player 10. Player 10 is set up right next to Video Effects 6, and it's just a coincidence on the names. But we've got Video Effects 6 set up to do chroma key. player 10 is our source, and video effect 2, which is kind of this single person shot, is where we want to start, but we want to end up with video effect 5, and I actually have to do a manual transition on this one, but that's okay because while I'm doing it, the video's playing. So let me show you how it works. We'll get it set back up with that first camera, and I'm going to turn on this video effect module to the main screen, and you do that, you can tell that the little red tally light has come on. And let's go back full screen, and I'm just going to press play on the player, and while that's playing, I'm going to shift my video effects. So let's give it a go, shall we? And now we've got a guest shot. Pretty cool. Let's do that again. We'll go back the other direction. Isn't that just really neat? Hat tip again to Martin on that one. Okay, let's look down here for what it is we're really doing. And we've got our chroma key set up. Player 10 is going to be our video. We're starting with, in this case it's one video effect, but it could be a camera, it could be anything. And we're moving to another one. Again, it could be a camera, it could be a video effect. It could be instant replay, could be just about anything. We'll set it up and play it one more time. This is just too fun. Let's go back full screen, and we'll tell the player to play. And there we are. I mean, is that just not the coolest thing? Now, you're probably thinking, oh, you know, Tom, that's not that cool. Oh, sorry about that white flash. That was one frame of white built in to the end of the player right there. We need to fix that. Anyway, isn't that the coolest thing? And there are all sorts of uses for it. If you're doing a talk show and you're transitioning between different parts of your talk show, like an interview, or if you're doing sports broadcasting and you want to transition between, you know, at half times, at timeouts, at instant replay, you can put your sponsor graphics up in there. There are lots of cool uses for it. Really, really cool. We got to do it one more time, just for fun. And I had plenty of time to do it. I would bet, I haven't tried it yet, but I would bet you could use a keyboard macro function like auto hotkeys and basically be able to press, you know, Alt-A or something like that and have it do the whole transition for you as you were coming into that. So let's go back to the big screen here. This is Tom Sinclair, That VidBlaster Guy. How about that, excuse me, as a really neat demonstration? We're live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. ThatVidBlasterGuy.com. Hope you'll join us. Okay, folks, that's how we did it. Or actually, I didn't do it. Martin K. did it, but thank goodness for Martin, because he's my go-to guy when it comes to video. That's it for today's show. We really appreciate you tuning in. We invite you to join us again next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got a great show. I'm not exactly sure of the content next week, but if it's what I think it's going to be a really good show. And you can check the website, thatvidblasterguy.com, where we'll have all that ready for you then. And so that's it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.